taking the call up. Let's move. The first limitation with the crystal field theory was crystal field theory considered the ligand, especially the negative ligand, as the point charges. Now, if the negative ligands are the point charges, what happens? This negative ligand should show the very strong behavior into the spectrochemical series. But when we look at the spectrochemical series, we know that the most strong ligand is carbonyl ligand, which is not having any charge, which is a neutral ligand. That means the idea of crystal field theory that the ligands or the ions are the point charge has been proved wrong. Even this crystal field theory does not take in the account of the covalent character of the bond, which is known as the coordinate covalent bond formed by the donation of the electron, and that is why these two major drawback of this theory, which is known as the crystal field theory, and so we were in need of having the another theory, which is so two new theories have been proposed, and this new theories were the ligand field theory LFT or the molecular orbital theory MOT. Now we should look, we have studied even about the color of the coordination compound. My dear students, we are all aware that the unpaired electron absorbs the light, goes to the excited state, and when it comes back to the ground state, it emits light. Now in case of the d orbital splitting, the electron present in T2G go to the EG, and then from EG when it comes back to the T2G, it emits some light. Now what light is absorbed and what light is emitted, that depends upon the various type of colors. The light absorbed and light emitted are the complementary colors for each other. So if we consider yellow color is absorbed, then we may say that violet color compound is, or the violet color is emitted. Or if the violet color is absorbed, then the yellow color would be emitted. So here in the circle, I have shown you with the arrow the various complementary colors, and if one color is absorbed, the another color would be shown as the color of the compound, and that is how we can understand the various colored compounds of the transition elements. It is important to note that absence of ligand in crystal field theory splitting is not possible, and thus compounds turn colorless. So when the ligand does not have, or when the ligands are not present, the color of the compound turns into white color. We'll see two examples to understand this. We have a compound TiH2O6. This TiH2O6Cl3 is a compound which is a violet colored compound. But when we heat it, the H2O molecules present inside the compound, they are removed, and only TiCl3 anhydrous is being left. This TiCl3 anhydrous, which is left after heating, is colorless or white in color. And this is how we can understand that the removal of color is taking place due to the removal of the ligand. Same way, my dear students, in the 9th standard as well as 10th standard, we have studied about the copper sulfate, which is a blue color. Actually, it is copper sulfate pentahydrate, which is a blue in color. Now, the actual form of CuSO4 into 5H2O is CuH2O4 into SO4 into H2O. So this turns white on heating because ligand water present near to copper have been removed by heating, and that is why the anhydrous copper sulfate turns colorless. So in the absence of ligand, no crystal field splitting is possible, and that is why no DD transition possible. And as there is no DD transition possible, we can easily understand, my dear students, that the color of ligand cannot be understood or cannot be seen. Now we'll move to the next question. Explain the influence of ligand on the color of complex by using some suitable example. So my dear students, in the next answer, we are going to study that how the change into the number of the ligand going to change the color of the compound. So influence of ligand on the color of complexes. The influence of ligand on the color of complex may be illustrated by considering the example of NiH2O6 plus 2, which is also known as hexaaqua nickel 2 complex. This hexaaqua nickel plus 2 ion is generally represented as NiH2O6 Cl2. Actually, it is a green colored complex. Now, if we take a didentate ligand, the name of the didentate ligand is ethane 1,2-diamine. This ethane 1,2-diamine, which is also known as En, is progressively added in the molar ratio. So, we will take the ratio of ethane, diamine and nickel. When the ratio of ethane, diamine and nickel is 0:1, that means there is no En present. The nickel complex look green in color. Now we are going to add the 1 mole or increase the ratio of En. So the first we will make the ratio of En into Ni is 1:1. Then we'll make the ratio En is to Ni is 2:2. Then we'll make the ratio En is to Ni is 3:1. Following reaction takes place and the color change is observed. You can see here, my dear students, that NiH2O6 aqueous plus 2 is of green color. When this green color NiH2O6 plus 2, we add 1 molar En, then NiH2O6 4En plus 2 plus 2H2O has been formed. Here the ratio of En is to Ni is 1:1, and that is why it is of pale blue color. Same way when we add another molecule or another mole of En, a pale blue NiH2O 4En plus 2, in this pale blue complex we add 1 mole of En aqueous, then we will get NiH2O twice En2 plus 2 plus 2H2O. This NiH2O twice En plus 2 is of blue or purple color, and here the ratio of En is to Ni is 2:1, and this is how we can understand about the effect of ligand. Then now we are going to add the third mole of the En into the pale purple or blue colored NiH2O En, and then finally we get NiEN3 plus 2, and 2 molecules of water have been removed. Here the ratio of En is to Ni become 3:1, and this complex is violet in color. So progressively, my dear students, as the ratio of En is to Ni changes, the color change is observed, which shows that the influence of ligand, on the color of the complex. See, you can see here with the table even I have explained that when the En is to Ni ratio is 0:1, the complex is of green color. When the En is to Ni ratio is 1:1, that is NiH2O4 En, we have pale blue complex. When the En is to Ni ratio 2:1, we have NiH2O twice, En twice, actually it should be En twice here. Then we have the blue or purple color, and then we have the ratio 3:1, that is NiEN3 plus 2. We have the violet color, my dear students, and this is how we can understand the effect or influence of the ligand on the complex or coordinate compounds. Now, my dear students, we want to understand about the color that has been formed into some of the gemstone. You might have heard about the various gemstones like ruby and emerald. So first we are going to study about ruby. Ruby is a gemstone generally red in color, but it is actually alumina Al2O3. By composition, in the composition of ruby, where we have mostly the aluminium oxide Al2O3 is present, in which some position of aluminium is occupied by Cr plus 3 ions. So in alumina, some position of aluminium has been occupied by Cr plus 3 ions. These Cr plus 3 ions behave as an octahedral chromium 3 complex. So this octahedral chromium 3 complex, where DD transition is possible because octahedral chromium 3 complex has unpaired electron, and thus the DD transition of electron takes place, and ruby is of red color. The red color is actually due to the impurity of Cr plus 3 present into the aluminium oxide and this is how we can understand the red color of ruby. Same way in the gemstone called emerald, my dear students, a gemstone is actually a mineral. The name of the mineral is beryl. Beryl is Be3Al2 Si6O18. In beryl, Cr+3 ion occupies some of the octahedral sites which is present as an impurity. Thus, due to DD transition in octahedral chromium 3 complex present in emerald, which causes the green color of the emerald. So this is how, my dear students, we can understand about the various colors into gemstones. Please remember, my dear students, the various color you can see into the gemstones is because of the Cr+3 impurities present into them. Now, my dear students, we are going to study about the bonding in metal carbonyls. The bonding in metal carbonyl is little different as compared to the normal coordinate compounds bonding. So let us understand how they are different. The homoleptic carbonyls are formed by most of the transition metals. It wants to say that most of the transition metals make the compounds with carbonyl ligand, and these carbonyl compounds, when they have only single ligand, which is carbonyl ligand, they are considered as a homoleptic carbonyl compound. Homoleptic carbonyls, the carbonyl compounds of metal, where only carbonyls are present as ligand, no other ligand are present. Such carbonyls are called the homoleptic carbonyls. Homoleptic carbonyls of transition metals have simple structure. Their structure is very simple to understand, and have well-defined structures. Their structures are well-defined. We can easily understand them, how they are formed and how the various ligands have been arranged. We have the various examples like tetracarbonyl nickel 0, that is NiCO4, which is tetrahedral in shape. Then we have the another example. The another example is known as the pentacarbonyl iron 0, which is FeCO5, is a trigonal bipyramidal. Hexacarbonyl chromium 0, which is CrCO6, which is octahedral. Deca means 10. Decacarbonyl dimanganese 0. You can see that Mn2CO10 or Mn2CO10 is made up of two square pyramidal MnCO5 units joined by Mn bond. So now I have tried to explain you the shape of the various homoleptic carbonyl compound. You can see NiCO4, tetracarbonyl nickel 0, which is tetrahedral, pentacarbonyl 0, which is trigonal bipyramidal. You can see that FeCO axial bond and three equatorial bonds with Fe with 3CO. You can see easily and understand, my dear students. You can see here the hexacarbonyl chromium 0, which is an octahedral complex. Chromium is bonded with the 6 carbonyl compound. Then we have the decacarbonyl dimanganese 0. You can see here that we have two MnCO5 units. This is one MnCO5 unit. Then we have the another MnCO5 units. And these MnCO5 units, which are square pyramidal in shape, they are bonded with this arrowed Mn bond. And this is how a very simple structure, which is easy for you to understand. And the structure is even very specific. Now we are going to study about the octacarbonyl dicobalt 0. This octacarbonyl dicobalt 0 has CO-CO bond, which is a direct bond. You can see in the figure I have clearly mentioned this CO-CO bond, which is the direct bond between the two cobalt, as well as apart from that, we have CO-CO bond, which is known as the CO-CO bond, which is bridged by the carbonyl groups. You can see that this CO is bonded to this CO by having the bridge of this carbonyl group. Same way you can have this CO bonded with the another CO with the bridge bond. I have clearly mentioned the bridge bond and showed them with the arrows. So this is how we can understand the structure of octacarbonyl dicobalt 0, where there are two bonds, or there are two ways by which the cobalt are bonded with each other. The first bond is the direct cobalt-cobalt bond. where is the another bond which was breached by the carbonyl group, and this is how we can understand the structure of the carbonyl compound. Now, the very important point about the carbonyl compound is the synergic bonding in the metal carbonyl. This synergic bonding in the metal carbonyl make metal carbonyl compounds very strong and very stable. So let us understand how this synergic bonding in metal carbonyl is possible. The metal carbon bond in metal carbonyl possess both sigma as well as pi character. The MCO, you know, MCO means CO, carbonyl group, is putting their electron into the metal, which is a sigma bond. So I have clearly shown you that the arrow from CO to M, that is MCO, sigma bond, is formed by donating lone pair. Remember, my dear students, here the lone pair is donated. The MCO sigma bond is formed by donating lone pair of electrons on the carbonyl carbon into the vacant orbital of metal. Please remember that when we have MCO bond here, which is a sigma bond, in this sigma bond, the electrons are being donated by carbonyl inside the vacant d orbital of metal. Now we also have MCO pi bond, which is formed by the donation of a pair of electrons from the filled d orbitals of metal to the vacant pi star antibonding orbital of carbonyl group. So you can see here, my dear students, this both bond I have tried to explain you with the figure, and this donation is causing the synergic bonding into the metal carbonyl. The metal has been represented by M and the carbonyl is represented by C triple bond O. You can see that sigma bond is formed by the donation of 2 electrons from carbonyl to the metal orbital. This carbonyl to the metal orbital bond has been expressed with the green color. Now we want to understand the back donation or back bonding which is done by the metal to the carbonyl group. As metal puts its filled electron into the d orbital, this electron has been put into the pi star orbital of the carbon monoxide or carbonyl group. These pi star are also known as the anti-bonding orbital which were vacant into the carbonyl group. So the completely or the filled pair of electron from metal goes to the vacant pi star orbital of carbonyl group. This is what it is known as the back donation or back bonding, and this back bonding make two bond. One is sigma bond, another is pi bond. This is they are collectively known as the synergic bonding, and due to this synergy, due to this double hand joining, due to this synergic bonding, the bonding between metal and carbonyl is considered to be very strong bonding, and this strong bonding make metal carbonyl to be very strong. This strong bonding make metal carbonyl to be very stable. The metal to ligand bonding creates a synergic effect which strengthens the bond between carbonyl and the metal. Now we are going to study about the stability of coordination compound. The stability of a complex in a solution refers to the degree of association between the two species involved in the state of equilibrium. These two species are metal as well as the ligand. The magnitude of the stability of formation of equilibrium constant for the association quantitatively express the stability. Thus, if we have the reaction of M plus 4L equilibrium ML4, then the larger the stability constant, the higher the proportion of ML4, that is the complex that exists in the solution. Free metal ions rarely exist in the solution, so that N will usually be surrounded by solvent molecules which will compete with the ligand molecules L and be successively replaced by them. Generally, these metal ions are surrounded by the solvent molecules. This ligand comes, attack, replaces the solvent molecules and make ML4 kind of or Ml6 kind of complexes into the solution. For simplicity, we generally ignore the solvent molecules and write 4 stability constant as follow. My dear students, we have seen that we want to prepare ML4. So this preparation of ML4, we are just putting it into the 4 step. In the first step, M reacts with ligand 1 and produce Ml. Here the equilibrium has been formed and the equilibrium constant is known as K1. For equilibrium constant K1, we can write that concentration of product divided by the product of concentration of reactants. And therefore for K1 we can write Ml or concentration of Ml divided by concentration of L divided by concentration of L. Same way, when this Ml reacts with another L ligand, in equilibrium it produces Ml2. So K2 is equal to Ml2 divided by Ml into L. In the third step, Ml2 reacts with the ligand L and equilibriumly follows Ml3. For this equilibrium reaction, we can write K3 is equal to Ml3 divided by Ml2 multiplied by L. Same way, in the fourth step, this Ml3 reacts with the ligand L and forms Ml4. For this particular reaction, the fourth step equilibrium constant is represented as K4, and we can write K4 is equal to concentration of Ml4 divided by concentration of Ml3 as well as concentration of L. So here K1, K2, K3, K4 are referred as stepwise stability constants. Alternatively, we can even write all these 4 steps into the single step, and when we write it into the single step, we write M plus 4L, that equilibrium give Ml4. We know that the stoichiometric coefficient, when we express the equilibrium constant, this stoichiometric coefficient goes as a power. So here we will write the constant, equilibrium constant, as beta 4, and beta 4 is equal to concentration of Ml4 divided by concentration of M multiplied by the concentration of L to the power 4. This beta 4 is here known as the overall stability constant. So please remember, my dear students, that for beta 4 we will use the word overall stability constant. Now let us multiply this stepwise stability constant. So we will multiply K1 into K2 into K3 into K4. We will put the values, all the values, and then we will cancel out those values which are similar into the denominator and numerator. Those values which we need to cancel out, I have underlined them with the green color, and finally we get the product of K1, K2, K3, K4 is equal to Ml4 into M into L into L into L into L, which ultimately leads us to Ml4 divided by M into L to the power 4, which is nothing but beta 4, which is the overall stability constant. So we can say that overall stability constant beta 4 is equal to product of stepwise stability constant, that is beta 4 is equal to K1 into K2 into K3 into K4. Now instead of 4L, suppose we have NL and we get MLN, then we can write beta N is equal to K1 into K2 into K3 into so on multiplied by and multiplied by Kn. Suppose we take log of both the sides, then we can write log of B4 is equal to log of K1 plus log of K2 plus log of K3 plus log of K4, or log of Bn is equal to log of Bn, log of K1 plus log of K2 plus dash 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 plus log of Kn. So this is how, my dear students, we can understand the calculation of the overall stability constant. Now we should understand the concept with the example. So let us look at the example for the same kind of theory. Suppose we are trying to make a complex. The step involved in the formation of cupra-ammonium ion, we have following steps. So we can understand the following steps as Cu plus NH3. My dear students, Harshil, you have been doing the unnecessary disturbing. You should be shameful. Here we have been adding Cu plus 2